Hello everybody and welcome back to LMM, and if you're enjoying what you're seeing on the channel at the moment, how about giving this video a like and maybe subscribing to the channel to help us grow, and perhaps even check out our Patreon. Today we're doing something I've not tried to do before, because I recently got given a neglected Mamod Minor Run, a tiny little steam engine. Now I own one of these already, but this one has been neglected. It's been left at the back of a shed somewhere and is all looking a little bit worse for wear. So let's take a closer look at it and see what it needs doing, because my plan is we're going to steam this. So a quick refresher to what we have here. This is the Mamod Minor Run. It is the smallest thing that Mamod made, and it was produced in one form or another from between 1939 and 1979, giving it an almost 70-year production run until Mamod did a big restructuring thing. It is as simple as a steam engine can be. A burner sits through this hole here and generates heat, and that heats up the water in this tiny boiler, which, that's my finger for scale, it's minute. When there's sufficient steam, it runs up this pipe here to a single oscillating cylinder. An oscillating cylinder is the most simple form of a steam engine. When steam comes through the pipe, it enters the back of the cylinder, pushes the piston up, which then causes it the whole thing to rotate. This moves on the face, and as momentum from the flywheel brings it back, it exhausts steam out of a port there. This is very much your starter steam engine. There is no way to control it once it's going. You simply set your fire, give the flywheel a spin, and off it goes until it runs out of fire or water. Now, these little things were designed that the burner doesn't have enough fuel in it to be able to burn the boiler dry. And you'll notice on this, being an earlier one, that it doesn't have a filler plug at either end. Now, this is because in order to fill this one, you tip it up and you notice that the safety valve is 3/4 of the way up the boiler. And that's how you know you've got 3/4 of a boiler full of hot water. However, this one, as we can see, it's not in the best condition. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's certainly not in bad condition, particularly the decals on the side are in amazing condition. There's a bit of tarnishing going on here, and there are the odd cobwebs. Certainly this is more neglected than truly abandoned. The biggest problem is that that moves that far and no more. In actual fact, although it looks quite scabby, it is all complete, and that's a really good starting place. The first thing to do to get this to run again is to free off this. Now, the shaft seems to be fairly free. It's the piston getting stuck in the cylinder. Now, there are a couple of things that we could do about this. We could try good old brute force and ignorance and just wail on this until it goes round. However, I'm going to be kinder to it, and instead we're going to disassemble it. And that is relatively simple. We just need to get a pair of pliers onto this nut and give it a little twist. And this little bolt here is what holds the cylinder onto the face. Simple. Now, perhaps the face itself could do the cleanup, but what I'm more interested in is getting this off. So what we're going to do first is just put some oil down there. It doesn't really matter what oil it is, it's just something to give it a soak. The other thing we can do for a stuck piston is to pour some oil just into the steam inlet port here. I'll pour some oil into that, and hopefully that will help free it off. Now, some of you might be wondering why we're not using steam oil for a piston, and that's because the steam oil is only needed when it's hot. It needs to be a thick oil to survive the temperature. And this, well, I think the first thing I'm going to do is just twiddle this like this to try and work that oil in. And already, oh, look at that movement already. A little bit of oil goes a very long way. So we'll twist that again, and now gently twist it around to make sure we're getting that oil everywhere, and gently get it out. That actually looks pretty good, so we'll just give it a quick clean, wipe the rubbish off it, get everything we can off the shaft, and now that's looking much better. That's in half decent condition, and the piston itself looks fine. As for the cylinder, well, we're just going to force a bit of paper into there to make sure there's nothing inside. We're just going to force that all the way in. Use something with a point like this just to force it all the way inside and make sure there's nothing in there. So give it a good twist, and there we go. A load of nasty stuff that we didn't need on the inside. Then we get a cotton bud and dip it into some methylated spirits, and then we can just give this a really good clean out inside and get rid of any old deposits of anything. Of course, it's not abrasive enough to do anything to the bore. It's just enough to get out any of this rubbish. And finally, we'll just put a little bit of oil just on the thread and on the spring of that, and just give it a few actuations just to make sure that's going to live another day. Next is taking a look at this. So I could do with some oil. That's quite rough, but also we need to clean up all of these cobwebs. And for that, I'm using my meth-soaked cotton bud just to try and get rid of some of the rubbish that's accumulated here over the years. Ugh. And then we'll just do the same again across here just to make sure there's no muck on the face. Again, I'm not going to do anything major to this. I'm just going to make sure it's clean before we put the cylinder back onto it. And then it's time to add some much needed lubrication. So this is model railway oil, but it's a nice thin oil designed for moving parts. Much better. So now it's time for reassembly. So we'll put a little bead of oil around the entrance to the cylinder there, and then encourage the piston to come back in. And look at that. That's much nicer. So now it's time to rebuild the engine. We put the little end back in, and then we line this up, putting the screw thread through the hole so it meets that one, and then do it up. It's important to make sure that this is done up tight enough. Too loose and there won't be a seal, and so the engine won't run. Too tight and there'll be too much resistance and the engine won't run. So it's important to get it just right. It is this spring that holds the cylinder against the face, so I'm just going to pour some oil down there just to give it a nice surface for sorting things out. And finally, just a bead of oil on the little end here. And now, well, that's turning over really nicely. This is better than it was. So now, let's see if the safety valve's going to hold up. Let's come out, that's a good start. Oh, oh no, there we go. Well, that wouldn't have lifted. So this is why we always make sure with these safety valves that they are going to work, because that'd see solid, and that would have been far more than the boiler pressure could ever produce. But that's working, and actually the rubbers in that, they look pretty good. Now the big thing this is missing is a burner, so I've borrowed this one off my other Minor, and it doesn't quite fit, so it's obviously off the wrong design. It's a fairly light recommissioning, this one. That's all I need to do. So it's time to find ourselves some water, fill up the boiler, fill up the burner, and we'll see what happens. And frankly, I'm pretty optimistic. As ever, I'm using distilled water. Traditionally you use a funnel, but today I'm going to use a little syringe. The main reason for doing this was I was genuinely curious to how many millilitres it would take to fill this boiler up to 3/4. After 60 millilitres of water, we turn it up, and there we go. Water comes out. So we're about 3/4 full. Then we replace our safety valve. Take the filler off our incorrect meth burner. Pro tip, when you're trying to fill up your burner with methylated spirits, make sure the funnel actually fits inside the hole of what you're trying to fit, rather than just matches the same diameter. Goes a lot better. A quick wipe to get rid of the overflow. Replace the bung. Find the ignition key and begin the start procedure. And in we go. So this is the wrong burner, but it will just about fit in there, and for the purpose of this, it will do the job. So this is very exciting. It is a genuine unknown. I am pretty damn confident that it's going to spring back into life, because there's literally nothing to go wrong with it. The boiler's held water, the safety valve works, and all the motion is loose. The gentleman who gave it to me said that it's been sat for as long as he can remember, and he doesn't remember it ever running, so we have no idea how long it's lay dormant. But it's kind of exciting bringing something back to life. And it's now starting to make noises. And yes, to everyone in the comments, I am very aware if I used hot water this would come around a lot quicker, but you know, there's nothing wrong with having a bit of drama and anticipation. To think this could be the first time this steams this millennium is genuinely very exciting. That's the noise of a steam engine coming back to life. We're generating steam. Now the thing's getting hot, we are going to want to add some steam oil to the mix. So we're going to put a bit of steam oil just down the bore. Oh, we're bubbling already. And a layer of it just across the face there. We are bubbling, so... Look at that. This is the simple joy of a Mamod. Doesn't do anything else, can't control it, just runs away. But steam simplicity at its very best. And it's fantastic.
And as all Mamods do, this runs away at such a speed that the motion is a blur to the human eye, and the sound is more akin to that of an internal combustion engine than that of what one normally associates with a steam engine. But this is a Mamod running away in fine fettle. You'll notice on the flywheel there is a groove where one can put a drive band and run accessories with this, and that's exactly what this is meant to do, and it will temper the speed somewhat. After running for a good 10 minutes, the thing started to slow down.
Well, I don't really know what you're expecting. It's a Mamod, of course it's going to work. There's nothing that can go wrong. As long as the motion goes round, steam's going to go up that pipe, into the cylinder, push the piston, and the whole thing will work. Sure, it might leak, the solder could have gone there or there, the face could leak, but it will still work. It'll leak a load of steam out, but these things are pretty much indestructible. They just keep on going. And it's a lovely little engine. So obviously what I need to do now is get the correct burner for it, rather than this one, which isn't quite right, but it works. It's a living, breathing engine. After so many years in hibernation, it's lovely to get it working once again. So, what did you think? Did you think it was going to work? Of course it was going to work. It's a glorious little machine. Such a shame that Mamod have gone now, because they made such lovely, simple little engines that will continue to run and bring joy to the people for years and years to come, long after the company's gone. Now, this one's slightly different to my other one. There are a couple of aesthetic differences to it, and it doesn't have the filler plug, so it's going to be an early one, so I'm going to guesstimate, say, 1950s for this. So we're talking a 70-year-old steam engine just running away quite happily with a tiny amount of maintenance. And realistically, for a Mammoth, that's all you have to do to them. So that's it. Let me know what you think about it in the comments below. Did you enjoy seeing this? And if you did, well, let me know. And of course, if you have enjoyed this, how about clicking over there for the video I did on my previous Mamod Minor, when we talked about the basics of steam engine, or down there for the big brother of this, the Mamod SE2. So thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time. I'm going to fire this up and go again, because it's simple steam pleasure. I think I need a dynamo or something for it, you know, an alternator, so I can do something, make some power, do something with it. But that'll be an adventure for another time. Ta-da!